Now that presumably you finished the larger scale revision of your project one, the kinds of global conceptual aspects, we're ready to move on to editing. And with editing strategies, I wanted to re emphasize that editing is different than revision. Revision really entails thinking about your overall argument, what you want to say, and editing would be more about the how you're saying it. There's, of course, some overlap. Some writers think about there being three kind of stages, right? That there's revision, then there's editing, then there's proofreading as even kind of a smaller scale. I'm collapsing proofreading and editing for the purposes of project one, but when you are editing, these are the kinds of things that you'll want to be looking for: grammar, clarity, spelling, punctuation, sentence level issues, word choice. These are the kinds of smaller aspects of writing that are so important, right? Because they really help you deliver the content that you're trying to deliver. But they're for many of us the pieces of writing that where you really mark up the text, in smaller sentence level, word level kinds of issues. And for me, I think I said this earlier in the course, but editing is the most fun for me. I really find it exciting to think about word choice. So, how to edit? The best way to edit is to read aloud. You will find things that you didn't know were there. For instance, in earlier versions of our landing page for this course, I read that silently to myself a number of times, but I didn't read it aloud, even though I'm telling you should read things aloud. I didn't read it aloud, and therefore there were several typos that I feel certain I would have caught had I actually read it aloud, like words that were in there twice. Like I think there was a the instead of a to, or two thes or something. So please read aloud. Make notations as you're reading aloud so that you don't have to stop and actually make the fixes as you're reading it, but go ahead and make notes on your text, right? As you're reading, say, oh, I don't like that word notations. I'm going to change that to notes because it sounds too fancy as notations. And then finally, prioritize. Each of us has certain aspects of our writing that we really want to strengthen. You can't strengthen everything all at once. You really need to prioritize what you're going to work on at a particular moment in time or with a particular writing project that you have. So if you're noticing that you have certain patterns of error with grammar, figure out what those patterns are and decide, okay, for right now, for the next 6 months, I'm really going to work on just the uses of commas. Or for the next 3 months, I'm really just going to work on eliminating split infinitive. So choose one thing, one manageable thing that you can work on. This is an example of what editing looks like, and as you can see, it's small changes, right? Notice small changes. It's not necessarily large argument changes. It's really kind of the sentence level, small local issues, making things more concise, adding a thus, adding some transition words. This is what editing looks like, and this is what your editing should look like as you're editing. So I'll take you through an example of editing from a draft in progress of one of my articles that I'm writing. I'm writing about community-based writing and how student writers feel about community-based writing, whether they see value in it or not. And there's other literature on it that I'm connecting to what I'm doing, but for the purposes of this, I just have what I have written on it. So this is a paragraph, and if I were going through and editing this, I would probably do the following. So I would be reading aloud. What accounts for this drastic differences? Oh, that's an error, so cross that out. In the perception of writing's value from a 3-year-old to an adult. And right there, it just sounds a little awkward to me. So I probably don't even mean in the perception. I probably mean something like attitude, because that's really what I'm talking about. So I'd change that to attitude. What accounts for this drastic difference in attitude from a 3-year-old to an adult? How is it that a 3-year-old can express gratitude for writing, even above such things as parents, family, and ice cream, and that perhaps 17 years later that same child might instead approach writing, even writing in a community-based setting, as X as that which is drudgery and lacks value. Okay, that sentence is way too long. I don't even know what I'm saying in that sentence, so I would probably suggest that to myself as I'm editing that I just kind of figure out how to shorten that sentence. So I just write a notation like too long. Many factors might have contributed to X's dissatisfaction, but the similar, more recent experience I had while teaching a service learning writing intensive course suggests that X's disdain of writing as service. Here again, I'm too long. This is way too long. I need to break up my sentences and add periods. I'm not sure if they're actually run-ons, but they certainly are not effective sentences. May reflect some deeply nested tensions with this form of writing in the service learning, there should be a hyphen there, context, and may have implications for how writing program administrators and other teachers of writing approach community-based writing. This may have, I feel like, is a little too soft. I want to be a little more assertive in my argument. It's not that it may have implications, but it has implications. Okay, so this is what I would do with editing. I'd probably cross that out too, because I don't need to have two versions of every concept that I'm saying. And here would be an example of the edited paragraph, which again could still be edited further. What accounts for this drastic difference in attitude? Why would a 3-year-old express gratitude for writing even above parents, family, and ice cream? I took out the thing because parents are not things, right? They're humans. But 17 years later, instead approach writing, even writing in a community-based setting, as drudgery. Many factors might have contributed to X's dissatisfaction. However, the similar experience I had teaching a service learning writing intensive course suggests that X's disdain of writing as service may reflect some deeper tensions with this form of writing. I would cross that out still. These complexities have implications for how writing program administrators and other teachers of writing approach community-based writing. So that's an example of editing. It's time consuming, and you can see, even as I was rereading it, there were still aspects that I would want to change. So please devote time to editing your Project 1 so that you are delivering your information and your argument in as effective a way as possible.